Hello everyone. We're back for a second time in a week. Unbelievable scenes. How's it going? Are you retiring the channel after August new job? I don't intend to, but no. No, I was on Monday I was group therapizing because things are a little tough at the moment. I mean, economically, I might be forced to, but that could happen at any time. Oh, how's it going? Yes, today we're going to make a little start on Intranzia Fraye, this individual. But before we do that, we're also going to do a little bit of basing on Gutsmek and Inquisitor Kroyle. And I do need to record these bits because I have been filming the base as well. So here he is. Gutsmek is pretty much finished, excluding the base, as you can see. Everything's come out alright. So yeah, that's what we're going to do. We're going to do a bit of that, and then we're going to hopefully get into Intranzia Fraye as well. So yeah, that's what we're going to be doing today. What are you guys working on? What have you been working on since Monday, if anything? Thank you for all the confidence you have given me to push my painting. Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you for enjoying the content. Can't believe you went live and interrupted me watching Warhipster Contrast Plus tutorials. Bit rude timing. I can only apologize. I can only apologize. Right, I need some Agarax Earthshade. We're just going to do this very quickly. This part's really, really quick. Because all we need to do is pause the music, go over here. With all of that Armageddon dust now applied, what we're going to do is we're going to take some Agarax Earthshade, and we're going to apply this over top of the fatigues of Arcadian, and we're going to use this to shade all the metal stuff as well. This is just going to create a little bit of separation between the bones and the fatigues. See? Told you that it was really quick. Now, naturally, we do need to create some separation between the bones and the Armageddon dust as well. And we are going to be doing that, and we're going to be borrowing from one of my other recipes, which is the Astra Militarum bases, where we're going to be using some Gorgrunter fur over the top of all of that desert. Naturally, once we've done all of that Gorgrunter fur over the top of all of that desert, it's going to take a long time to dry. So then we'll jump in and do some work on Intranzia Fraye, and then we'll hopefully have it dry in time to be able to do both the bases at the same time, thus finishing 2 models. Yes, this model has changed somewhat since last you saw it on Monday. So there we go. So that's almost done. Just missed a little bit there and there. There we go. So now, wash the brush. Here we go. Let's do this bit very quickly. And with all that Agrax Earthshade applied, we are then going to take some Gorgrunter fur. And we're going to apply this over top of all our Armageddon dust. There you go. So I'm going to do that for the next, what do you reckon, 5 minutes? It's going to take a little while. So yeah, this guy's done. He was a bit of a journey in the end. I didn't get him finished until late last night. And then I was going to get up and do him this morning, and then I thought, actually, do you know what? I'll do this later on stream. And then I thought, oh, but I also need to start Intranzia Fraye. I'm going to do that later on the stream. So we'll just try and do all of it. So in the intervening time, I actually painted up... I did a bit of work on some Kassakin. It's a video a lot of people have been asking for a long time. So I did a bit of work on that. And I also painted up the crew for the Centaur. Which just helps complete it a little bit. Just for my own peace of mind, really. But we didn't film that because we've done Cadians before. So it's just the same deal again. So it's like, we'll just not put that in. They'll just be done for my own amusement. So it's been a slightly weird day of waiting to kick the next videos off. But there you go. So we've got magnetized my first mini, the Custodian Dread. How was it? How did you do it? At the elbow? I thought about that as I was building it myself, and I thought maybe that's probably the way to do it. There isn't a way to build it with two hands on the spear in that kit, so it actually makes magnetizing it a lot easier than the old resin one. I'm trying to get a Drakari Combat Patrol new one with Coven units done as part of my Million Miniatures pledge. Talos and Kronos are a lot. Nice. How far are you into your Million Miniatures pledge? I actually didn't make one in the end. So I don't often go into a local games workshop. I feel like I've made a pretty decent contribution so far this year on 237. Though in the context of a million, it's nothing. Saviors of Cinderfall, your video has been very helpful. Ah, good. I'm glad. That was one that a lot of people asked for. What red is this? Looks fantastic. It's Baal red shaded with Evil Sun Scarlet. Not Evil... Good lord. It's Baal red shaded with Flesh Terrors red, highlighted with Evil Sun Scarlet, and then Squig orange. That's how that red works. Because I'm nothing if not predictable. Now Wazdag is looking very nice. Well, thank you, Swennels. He's been a labour of love. As all orcs are when it comes to this channel. Orcs are on my list of things that I like to finish, but I don't like to paint. You know what I mean? I'm sure we all have those types of things. So who knows? What's that? Oh. Nearly there. It was quite funny the other day was I had so many miniatures to base because I finished the Grey Company, and I finished the Army of the Dead as well, and then there was a couple of other bits around about the same time that I finished, and I just cracked a brand new pot of Sterling Mud to do. I can't remember what it was, but it was a model with a big base. It might have been a Lariel or the Defiler or something like that. And I had all those other miniatures to finish, and so well, I've just cracked a new pot. This will be fine. And I did it, and then a couple of days later, I was about halfway through City of Ash in terms of the basing. And I was like, where the hell has all that Sterling Mud gone? And then I realised, obviously, that single pot of Sterling Mud had done like about 70 models at that point, including massive based things. I was like, I appear to have lost my marbles and forgotten how much work I've done in the intervening period. It's like someone's breaking into my house and stealing little bits of Sterling Mud. And I was just thinking that then with this Armageddon Dust. I bought this Armageddon Dust not too long ago. And I've pretty much exclusively used it on like big bases since. Illy, thank you very much for being a member for 23 months. It's very kind of you. I appreciate it. Legend. We are 13 members away from our goal of 100. Have you thought of looking into AK or Vallejo mud? I've used Vallejo mud. It was fine. And we don't use AK products around here. Taking one brush full of Sterling every night for the past week. Sorry. Well, that was you, was it? Well. Well. Fine, I guess. At least you probably had a good reason, I'm sure. Right. Let's set up the camera for Intranzia Fraye. Let's see. Overhead. Actually, Joe, that looks like we're pretty much set up already. That looks pretty good. Yeah, that seems cool. So I think we might tackle this one in the same way we tackle Knights, in that we might do the legs, then do the top half. I feel like that's not a terrible idea to do it that way. Hello, Captain Manrings. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that as a setup. Just gotta remember. Yeah, should be fine. Should be fine. Have you ever gone over fixing mistakes with contrast paints? Many times, a System 4025. Many, many times. There's a video called Splotches and Blotches and Scratches. Is the reason why you don't use AK paints? Yes, there is a good reason. But it's a personal reason. It's a moral reason. Captain Mannerings is Captain Mannerings has hit it on the head. That's why. So yeah. Do you have a PO box or any plans to open one? They're very, very expensive PO boxes, so I don't have one. We would have to make a tiny bit more around here to be able to afford and warrant one. Right, I need a picture of old Intranzia Fraye. I don't know. This one is a really tough one to figure out how to. We want that article. Yes. Yes. So this was a really tricky one to figure out exactly the order of operations on how to paint this right, because it's crazy and there's lots of metallics going on. There's lots of different things going on all at the same time, and it's kind of a bit of a. It's a bit of a. The reason why I sort of talk about doing all the legs and then doing the top half is because if it's like a case of, I say we're going to apply Black Legion over the top of all of the black details. Really, that clip only needs to be about 10 minutes, and then it ends up being this foot, this hip, her trousers, da 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 da. So actually, it feels like it's a little bit more instructional to take it legs at a time, and also just easier to do it that way. I think is maybe the way to do it. So yeah, that's I think that's right. I mean, tell me if you think I'm getting that wrong. But before you do that, Mike Blake, 3001 with £20 super chat. Legendary. A little thank you for all your great work in the last few months. I used your guide for a number of recent Ultramarine characters, including the Warders, and I am now doing Huron and his Masters of the Maelstrom. Oh, that's very kind of you. Thank you very much. I'm glad I could help. So yeah, I think so. Then it's just a case of what the order of operations is here in terms of actual painting. So I think we start with silver because the pictures on the website aren't great either. Actually, I haven't actually looked at the pictures on gamesworkshop.com. Why am I doing that? I've already got it open. Intranzia Fraye. Boom. Maybe you've got some slightly different angles. No, not really, but okay. So all right. I need the angle. Right, so they are bone skulls. Okay. All right, I think I've got a handle on it. All right. So we're going to do that. We're going to do legs, then we're going to do the top half, and then that should create some separation. So this is going to be the separation platform there. That is gold, but then it's also marble. So the thing to check is it marble on the bottom? Yes. think so. And then, is it silvered? Yes. Okay. Those bits are gold. Okay. Alright, I think that we'll only know once we get started, right? So let's get some Iron Warriors thinned down on the palette. And there we go. Right. Hello everybody, it's the Warhipster here, coming at you with another Contrast Plus Patey tutorial from the 41st millennium, and yes, we are back with the Adeptus Sororitas and the all-new Intranzia Fraye. And, well, it is an absolutely bonkers model, and we're going to jump in and we're going to start painting it in just a second. But before we do that, a massive thank you goes to Games Workshop, of course, who sent me this one early to build up and paint with all of you. And, well, that's exactly what we're going to do now. So, a little bit of admin before we get started. She has been primed in Grace here, and we're going to be doing this as a model of two halves. We're going to be doing the bottom half of her, so the legs, up to this kind of bit here, and then we're going to do the top half. And this is just to kind of make this video a little bit easier to track in terms of like where we're putting all of the colours. So, with all that in mind, the first colour that we're going to be using is some thinned down Iron Warriors. And we're going to be applying this over the top of, well, quite a lot of details. So we have things like the trim of the feet down here. We've got the mechanical stuff on the inside of the feet around here, like that sort of thing. There's all of the chains and stuff back here as well. That's all going to be silver too. And we've also got this kind of knee joint here, and on the inside of the sort of hamstring in that sort of section, just in there like that. So we're just going to go around picking out all of these sorts of details. We of course do have the sort of pistons back here too as well. So we're going to go around getting all of that done. And then once that's all Iron Warriors'd, we shall return. Pachow! That's a lot of silver. I was wondering that the other stream, any particular reason you solely use GW paints versus mixing in stuff like Army Painter, Pro Kroyle, or Vallejo? Yeah, so I try and keep my... I've always tried to keep the paints list from a single brand, because it means you go to one place to get it. And the vast majority of people who are sort of looking up my videos, especially contrast painting, they are people who buy a lot of GW stuff, and so for the people who, my lived experience of trying to find videos of how to paint stuff back when, before I used to make videos, was you would look up how to paint a Space Marine, and the very first thing is they would tell you to buy something that you'd never heard of from a place you'd never been to before. Mostly because when I was sort of painting my Warhammer again after a little time out, I was looking up how to paint a vehicle. It was a Ultramarines, a Rhino or something like that, I can't remember. Anyway, every video was like, you'd have to refine your search terms and refine your search terms and refine your search terms to be able to find something, and even then it would be a lie. So it'd be like, I'm looking up how to paint a Ultramarines Rhino with Citadel paints using a brush, and then you'd open the video and it'd be like, and the first thing we're going to do is get AK blue, and then we're going to use our airbrush to do it. It's like, alright, okay, so that's not at all the thing that I wanted. So the idea is that you would open one of my videos and you would know where to get it all because you've already gone and got it. If you see what I mean. And that's the only reason why. Well, that, and I like this stuff. I like what I like. And I will very occasionally try new things, like I'm trying out these ruby brushes at the moment, and I'm very much enjoying them. And also, if you've been watching the channel for a long time, you'll now more or less know, by looking at one of my paint lists, what it is I'm going to do. You know what I mean? So it's familiar for you, and it's familiar for me as well. Now, this is not to say that if there was a tool that came out that was absolutely brilliant, let's say somebody came out with a I don't know, something like a magic like a magic palette that automatically could detect what it was you were trying to do with your paint, and would thin down your paint with the correct medium, not just water, but like it would be like, you know, like it was a magic palette that could do that. You could fill it with multiple different mediums depending on the things that you wanted to do, right? If such a thing existed and like everyone was talking about it, then there's no reason why I wouldn't incorporate it into my videos. But I would incorporate it into my videos for it to be there in all of the videos, essentially. Whereas I think, like, for the purposes of making the Contrast Plus series, if one time I use one red from one company somewhere else and I never go back to it again, I know it's only like £3 or £4, but wouldn't you believe, if you used my videos a lot, wouldn't you be bloody annoyed if I was like, oh yeah, no, never using that red again, it was just for that one thing? It'd be like, I spent £4 on that one, Red. How dare you, you bastard. You know? Set palette to glaze. Exactly. Please put me out of my misery and tell me you'll be painting the War of the Rohirrim heroes like Olwyn, etc. You teased me with it in January and I've been waiting so patiently. Love your MESPG content. I am fully intending to do Olwyn, Leaf, and Fraye. I am fully intending to do that. We don't know when the Riders of Rohan are coming out. Once we know when the Riders of Rohan are coming out, then we'll know roughly how much time I'll have to do, and if I have enough time to do it, I will also do the Heroes of the War of the Rohirrim at the same time. But I am intending to do them. It's just, at the moment, things are... Things are a little bit tricky. I have to recover from City of Ash because all of that content massively underperformed, and we've had way too many weeks like that over the last couple of months of Warhipstering. And the cost of living is rising, as you guys all know. So, deploying Lord of the Rings videos out of nowhere, especially something that is as narrow as Olwyn, Leaf, and Fraye, is one of those things where you just need the YouTube algorithm to recover a little bit, basically. Or at least I need the YouTube algorithm to recover a little bit and be like, oh, people do like you. Did GW not send you any mutilators? They did send me some mutilators. And I sprue reviewed them and everything. They are built. They are unpainted. For I am but one man. They came out at the same time as Thulia Gould, Kravik Morn, the Night Destroyer, and the Defiler as well. And I figured that whilst the Mutilators would be a video that people would want to see, I figured that the Defiler, Kravik Morn, Thulia Gould, and the Night Destroyer would do a little bit better and would be things that more people wanted to see. And I was right on 3 or 4 of those counts. So maybe we'll get to the Mutilators in time, but as ever, it's time dependent. I'm just one guy, remember. All by myself. No help to do anything. Don't have an editor. Or anything like that. Don't have a builder. feel like it's hard with the Divider because you have 5 factions looking for a guide, all with very different color schemes. Yeah, that's exactly right, Rain Man. That is exactly correct. Which one do you do? Which one do you out of the 5 different color schemes that people want to see? Which one do you pick to do? Because you're gonna disappoint 80% of other people. I've lost my train of thought on this one. Yeah, it's always the way, like, with something like, even like, the Mutilators are a really good example. There's 9 Chaos Legions. There's also, there is also now, what are they called? Corsairs. Being fully fledged and all that. So again, it's like, what colour scheme do you paint them? And you're always going to disappoint a bunch of people. And the funniest thing with the Defiler is, like, I think you should do one for... Hi, Warhipster. You should do one for every single one of the legions. And I go, okay. Who's paying for that, then? Me? Am I paying for that? How many of the models do you make tutorials for do you get sent by GW versus by yourself? The vast majority of them these days are stuff that I have been sent. However, if something's really cool and I really want to do it, it's bought by me. If I haven't been sent it. Is pretty much the vibe. And if you see a week where there's no new stuff from Games Workshop, or I don't put anything out from the new stuff from Games Workshop, then I've probably I've done I'll be doing something that I paid for myself. So, for example, like the Kassakin that I've got here, they're mine. I bought those. So when you see a Contrast Plus how to paint Kassakin video, I bought that. Same for a lot of Space Marine videos, actually. It's definitely not like a 50-50 ratio. Because, as I say, I am a little human boy. Just one. So I don't have the time to do everything I want to do. Oh boy, it's a lot of silver. You can just strip and restrip the paint for every scheme, right? Yeah, that's true. I can do that. I can do that. The model will be completely haggard by the end of it. For those interested in a YouTubing career, unless you want to lean into outrage, clickbait, and that kind of thing, if you want to just make contrast plus painting tutorials, for example, and just try and put a little love and support into the world, you too can earn yourself less than minimum wage. I'm just tidying up where I've missed a few bits and bobs. You know, just when you miss the occasional errant brush stroke. Yeah, I think we're... Actually, that's one thing I need to just quickly check. What about the big old stabilizer on the back? That is also silver. Okay, so that makes sense. All right. I bet the gubbins on the inside is not silver. I bet it's brass of some description, but there we go. If I know anything about my Imperial vehicles. But that's fine because we have our default that we like to use, which is more than sufficient for this. Boom. Okay, I think we are good to go on waiting just for a minute for all that silver to dry. So it's going to seem a little insane, but the thing to do next is to apply Black Legion, and then shade all of that silver and Black Legion at the same time. We can do all of the highlights of everything later. How are you finding the Ruby brushes compared to Citadel and Artist Opus? Loving these new tutorials of the new releases. Thank you for sharing, and please keep them company. My final verdict is yet to come on these, but I think they're very, 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 very good. I've been really enjoying using them. As ever, rigorous testing must take place. For one use of one thing does not an opinion form. But we're about... I'm going to use them for like 2 more weeks. And believe me, they've been going through some punishment to give the final verdict on them. But I really like them. I think they're very, very good. They take just a slight adjustment from a Citadel brush to one of these. One thing I really like, though, is you probably can't see this, right? But, like, see how flexible that is? I've just snapped it. There we go. Brilliant. If you see the Artist Opus one, same pressure. It's rigid. It's really rigid. And that's the thing with Artist Opus, is that actually is a problem. So you want the flex in the brush. You don't want to snap a brush like I just did. But you want the flex in the brush because when you're painting for a long amount of time, this will actually start to cause discomfort in your painting. So what will end up happening is there's like less give in this. The fact that that snapped under the same pressure, that's quite funny. I've clearly bent this a lot. But yeah, so I don't know where that stick went. We'll have to go and find that in a minute. But yeah, so the fact that these have got a little bit more flex to them is a really good thing. I really like that about these. So that I love about them. They hold their tip really well. I haven't lost a lot of bristles from them. It's quite a clean break there, actually. See that? So I could super glue it back together. I can still use this because I hold my brush there like that. Anyway, so I'm going to keep using this. But that's funny. So yeah, the fact that it has that flex means that over that long period of time, it makes them much more comfortable to use. The adjustment period for me from going from Citadel to this has been the length. Now there's a lot more length to these bristles, but the warning, the worry for me was that because these are longer, that they would retain a lot more contrast paint within the belly of the brush, like a shade brush does, right? Which is the reason why I don't use medium shade brushes, because they retain too much contrast paint in the belly of the brush. It means you can be less precise and you'll end up with a lot more of what's it called? You'll end up with a lot more of that sort of dark, the darker pigment running off onto the model. In this regard, these don't do that. So picture the medium layer brush, but just longer, and they've got a real like softness to the bristles as well. They don't have that snap that some things do. None of them have curled like some synthetic brushes tend to do. So yeah, I'm really pleased with these. I think they're fantastic. Have been in the hobby for 7 years and have painted more in the last 2 since I found this channel than the other 5 combined. Lovely. Who would have thought Orc Commandos would be your most popular unit video? I know, right? Crazy. You just can't. You can't predict it sometimes. I'll tell you. I tell you. Orc Commandos, then Saurus Warriors, then the Norn Emissary, then High Fleet Leviathan Termagants, then the new Demon Prince, then an old Black Templars video, then new Deathwing Knights, then Be'lakor, then Pallid Hand Vectorium Mortarion, then 40k version of the Lion. You just can't predict it sometimes. There are some things you can predict, like, you know, I can be, you can pretty much like, you can pretty much, sort of like go, I don't think this one's going to do very well, but, you know, is what it is. That snap just sold me, just ordered a set. Lovely on-screen menu. Did you use my link? It's okay if you didn't. Don't worry about it. Super glue tie. I have no idea where the rest of that stick, the paint handle went. I'm sure I'll find it someday. Right. Right, so yeah, like I said, next job is to take Black Legion. And we're gonna... Where is Black Legion? There it is. Found it. Okay. Let's go. Let's do it! I just need the pictures. I missed a bit of silver in here. I think that's the only bit of silver I missed. Not quite. 2 skulls. So with all that silver now applied, what we're going to do is we're going to take some Black Legion. And we're going to apply this over the top of, well, really the casings of the legs. So this bit that we haven't done, and this bit down here, as well as the armour on the ankles and on the feet. And we're back. Lovely. So yeah. I'll follow the guide because I'll get her when I can, but there is no way I can paint her up without sub-assemblies. That's fair. I generally find out about halfway through a video whether or not it's easy to paint in sub-assemblies or not. I always just assume I can do it, unless it's like really obvious. Or like there's a priming question. So like for example with Alariel, it doesn't make sense to prime the Wardroth beetle in Grey Seer and then use an entire pot of Black Legion to get it to be black before you start doing the rest of the model. It makes way more sense to prime it in black. So in that regard, there is a sub-assembly because Alariel is held separately to the model and primed in Wraithbone. Same thing for the upcoming, as and when I finally get to it, Commissar Graves. Which, unless this model takes me 3 days to do, which I don't think it will, we should be doing next. But Graves is the same. So I've kept all of the crew of the Graves tank off it on little spare bases, so that I can paint them separately to the tank, because I primed the tank in black because it is a black tank. Again, no sense using an entire pot of Black Legion to do them. And there's only one large section of Commissar Graves' tank that is not black, and that is the well, there's the metallics, but we would do them metallics anyway. The inside of the troop compartment is bone coloured. It's like a really dark, dirty bone. So, the best way to achieve that is going to be with dry brushing. Okay. Oh. Chat broke. And you're back. Is there a reason you never Zenithal Prime for your videos? Do you think it's not worth the effort? Yes. Correct. It also doesn't give an effect that I like. There's always a place for every... I've said this many times before. There's always a place for every technique. But what you shouldn't do is use every technique all of the time. You see what I mean? How does one get in there? Nope, that's not the angle. There's always an angle. Ah, there's the angle. Oh, there's bags of room. Got it. How do you decide whether to prime a model in Wraithbone versus Greyseer? Color temperature. If the model is cold, it's Greyseer. If the model is warm, it's Wraithbone. One of the easiest ways to determine that is to look at the colour of red. But basically, look at the warm colours on a model. And then if they look warm to you, then Wraithbone is the way to go. And if they look cold to you, then Greyseer is the way to go. And if it looks entirely neutral, then White Scar is the way to go. So, for example, with Intranzia Fraye, a lot of the model is black. So it's inherently quite a cold model, which means Greyseer is the way to go. But you can also decide, you know, because it's your hobby, you can do whatever you like. You can also decide that you want to cool something off. So, for example, you could look at something like Orc Skin and notice that Orc Skin is quite warm, generally. But you could decide that you want it to be a little bit colder, a little bit more unforgiving, a little bit more sinister. So in that case, use Greyseer because you want to cool off those colours. Very occasionally, if a model is really dark, you can of course use Mechanica Standard Grey if generally most of the model is dark. That bit is also black. And I would generally would suggest not using metallic primers if you intend to contrast paint, because metallic primers are not the same colour as the colour coming out of the pot. They just aren't. And it's always recommended that you use, if you prime something in Retributor armor, it's always recommended that you use Retributor armor over it before you do anything else to make sure it's all the right color. What we'll also do is we'll also give it a bit more texture to the paint job, because the metallic primers are quite glossy, which can then mean that you lose that kind of surface friction / tension to actually apply things like shades over the top. So it might seem like it's going to speed things up to primer Custodes in Retributor armor and then just throw Guilliman Flesh over the top. But what you'll notice is that the Guilliman Flesh, or the Reikland Flesh shade, or whatever you choose, will bead up and it will retreat, and it'll sort of feel like it's like washing away from the model as you're applying it for a little while, until you've like sort of really like forced it by like going over it several times whilst you're trying to paint it. That's because the surface that it's trying to adhere to is too glossy, it's too shiny, so it's just coming off. So there's that. And also, If you then intend to use contrast paints over any of the details that aren't gold, you have to reprime them by hand with Grey Seer or Wraithbone. At which point, you might as well not use contrast paints. You might as well just do it with classic paint because you'll save yourself some time. If anyone has ever wondered about that. So insane as you might think I am for painting in the gold manually on Custodes, you're wrong. Please tell me you're going to paint the new cog fort for AOS when it comes out. I really want it, but would have no clue how to do it. If Games Workshop sends me one, I 100% will. If they don't send me one, I 100% will because I want one. Let's see. Do I have... Yes! Here's a present for you, all you grey names in the chat. Let's see if we can snipe some of you and make you members, shall we? Can we do it? Can we do it? We got one. Oh, we got a couple. Congratulations to those 5. We are now 8 members away from our goal of 100. If you would like to consider becoming a member, that would be very, very, very kind of you. Ba-doo-ba-doo-doo, ba-doo-doo. There we go. So now whilst we wait for the Black Legion to dry, the next step is to add some Nuln Oil all over the top. All over the top, excuse me. But we're going to have to wait for that to dry for a little bit of time. So, Yamail Agbar, thank you very much for the 10 Warhipster gifted memberships. There you go, you've done it. We're now over target. By 2. Let's go. Woohoo. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that very much. How long did it take you to paint the Defiler? Feels like I've been painting mine for months. I did mine in a day. I had to. Well, a day's worth of painting. It took me... maybe like 12 hours. 12, 13 hours, something like that. Got to do the new Chaos Mutilators and a Helldrake. Would you use the same paint order as the Defiler you did? Exactly. Exactly right. Exactly what I would do. Hey, Warhipster, I was wondering if you know. Do I know? I don't know. Maybe I do, maybe I don't. On-screen menu, thank you very much for becoming a member. That's very kind of you. Fine, I'll do it myself. Thanos has joined us. So, what we need to do now is just, like I said, there is one last thing left to do on this base, which is to dry brush it. We do need to film that because we filmed the rest of it. So I need a brush with which to do exactly that. Maybe this one. It's pretty haggard. Mixter, thank you very much for becoming a member as well. Woohoo! Thank you very much. Thank you, guys. I very much appreciate you. Thank you, thank you. 104 now. That's like the start of many frequencies on the radio. Do-do-do. Boom, 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 do-do-do. Where's my paper? Got it. Recovered. Haha. Okay. So, Tyrant Skull, come to me, you beautiful paint. May Games Workshop make you forever. I love you. Right. Let's get that paused. Let's go to this one. And then we'll load up the brush. Here we go. So once all that gore grunted fur is now fully dry, the last thing we're going to do is we're going to dry brush this base with some Tyrant Skull. We're going to do this over top of everything, including the rocks, metallics, the fallen Cadian, the bone, and all that good stuff. And then we'll finish it off with some tufts. And I always use my tufts from Gamer's Grass, but of course, the choice is entirely up to you. Boom. Right, let's spend some time doing that. Get that fully dry brushed. I follow your videos, and when I use contrast paints, I've showed it doesn't come out clean. Very blotched and ugly colours, not like the results in your videos. Question next text limit. Could it be because my contrast is 3+ years old that it turned bad? I tried more and less paint, but it gives roughly the same results. Any advice? Have you seen my splotches and blotches and my how to use contrast paint properly videos? Is my question. And it's not me fully deflecting you, it's just I want to know what your level of knowledge is when it comes to those particular things. Because I have a couple of videos on the subject. Like, the paint shouldn't go off It may need a really good thorough shaking if they've sat still for so long. It might be that the pigments have separated a little bit. That can certainly be a case. Although often, if you use a contrast paint that's mostly like separated, without giving it a good thorough shake, you're more likely to just get loads of the thin pigment rather than loads of the thick stuff. Because the thinner pigment, the lighter colour in it, floats to the top, and the heavier stuff naturally floats to the bottom. See what I mean? So yeah, if you had a problem with that, or like if it all felt milky as it came off the brush, that would be a paint issue. Right, the other one that we need to finish off, but we don't need to record, is Inquisitor Kroyle, because we haven't recorded any of that base. Because it's really simple. I'll show you him, though. Same deal. Tyrant Skull. Ugh. Try giving it some more shakes, see if that solves it. Thanks. The other thing to bear in mind, the other bit of advice I will give you is if, again, this kind of goes back to that question we had earlier about zenithal priming. Contrast paints don't play well with water. They just don't. So if you're taking contrast paints, putting them on a wet palette or putting them on a dry palette and then adding a little bit of water because you should thin your paints, you don't need to do that. The contrast paints you can go straight from the pot. So try and keep water away from your contrast paints as best you can. It's not entirely fully destructive, but water does generally tend to interact weirdly with contrast paints. It can cause the pigments to separate, but can also cause it to dry in a weird patchy way. So yeah, don't put them on a wet palette, and don't thin them down on a dry palette with water, because you don't need to. You can go straight from the pot with them. That is another classic thing a lot of people do. The other thing I will say, and this came up the other day actually, is when you prime your miniature in Grey Seer or Wraithbone, you don't need to then apply Grey Seer or Wraithbone over the top of the Grey Seer or Wraithbone. Just spray it Grey Seer and then apply contrast paint. You don't need to do a layer of Grey Seer or Wraithbone before you go in. Right, let's get some tufties. Let's go with... Ooh, copper brown. Yeah. And maybe a couple of those as well. Brilliant. I'm all 6s and 7s today. First time I've ever done that, and I do it on camera. Brilliant. Okay. We don't want brown 4s. We don't want moss 2. We don't need autumn or dark moss or 5mm or grey green. That's all that can go away. Right. Brown 2s. Maybe. Tiny black, no. Burned, yes. Mixed green, white flowers, dark moss, swamp. Oh, we've already got some copper brown 2mm on the go. Beige 2mm, and then moss. There we go. Okay, so for Kroyle, it's really simple. We're just using burned 2mm. Because it's my favourite grass at the moment. I really like it. Okay, apparently that just isn't a tuft. Okay, that's a tuft though. There we go. Alright. No, you're a little bit too big to go up there. Let's put you here. Then we just need some little bits to put in the rock. Let's do that. We just need one more small one to go there. Maybe another one. Go there. That'll do. Alright, that's Kroyle done. Hello from Bordeaux in France. I like your video. I'm painting Black Templar's army. Awesome. Thank you very much for liking the video. My two sons reckon my Tau army is cooked in 11th edition. Thoughts? Oh no, absolutely not. Definitely not. I'm sure your Tau army will be absolutely fine in 11th edition. If anything, it might be about time for them to absolutely storm the meta again. It's been a couple of editions of punishment for them from the days of Triptide. I know Triptide's doing really well again at the moment, but they were punished for a long time because of Triple Riptide in 7th edition. I think your Tau army is going to be absolutely fine. In fact, I really wouldn't be surprised if there'll be things like, so like with the new rules for like hidden units. I can't remember exactly what it was called, but you know, there was the thing about how if you haven't shot, you can't be seen within 15 inches. So you can't be seen outside of 15 inches, so you're hiding from view, as it were. So there's that rule. I think genuinely you'll see something along the lines of like Tau stealth suits will have that, like, even if they have shot, for example, or it'll be something like they have like a 6-inch range on their thing, so you have to get much closer to them in order to be able to shoot them if they haven't fired. It also wouldn't shock me if things like the marker light system drastically changes and you end up being able to, you know, like ignore some more of those kinds of effects and things. It's my understanding that cooked can be, you can let someone cook, or you can be cooked. Is my understanding of the phrase. but I could be wrong. Any young people in chat? Want to clarify? Let's just put a floater up here. And we'll pop a couple of yeah, cooked. Yeah, I don't think you are. I don't think you are. Also, why would even if the rules stayed the same, right? You can get ignores cover really easy for the purposes of any of the new rules, with like the objectives being in buildings and such. You've also got access to a lot of high speed for any of the missions where you have to move objectives, like a relic or something like that. And you've got really high speed in order to get the belt board control, which is really the thing that matters. I think you're going to be just fine. There are definitely some boons to combat armies. For sure. Like no longer really being able to... I mean, you can still fail, of course, but... They've brought in the Age of Sigmar thing of you no longer have to declare your target. You just charge. But I don't think we've seen what the rules are for Overwatch yet, so... Imagine if Tau got back there, everyone can Overwatch rule. As long as they're in range. I bet Tau will be able to use their spotting rules to allow one unit within 15 inches enable shooting for others. Exactly, Yamel. Yeah, that kind of thing. That sort of interaction will definitely be in there. Or at least that's the type of thing I suspect will be in there. I think they were just hating as my twin lance gave them a kicking. Well, I'm not surprised, because the twin lance is busted. What do your sons play? Youngest Necron, eldest Chaos Black Legion. Well, if your youngest has access to any Catan... then they haven't got a leg to stand on. He has 3. Oh, you're more than justified in using your twin lance. Come on now. It really doesn't get to criticize the twin lance with 3 Catan. Your eldest having Black Legion, on the other hand, I kind of get. Chaos are in a really weird place. Like they're really, they can be really strong if they run. I think, is it pack-bound zealots with lots of demon engines, especially with the new Defiler. But it's quite a narrow use case for them at the moment. Alright. Here we go. I managed to win, scoring 98 points with my Emperor's Children in the local league on Monday, and that is before the Defiler. Nice! Congratulations. Tau could be easily be nerfed if they brought hidden rules and initiative stats back from second ed. Initiative these days, I'm not so sure. They have the Kroot Rampages and the Twin Lance and Farsight as 3 pretty decent combat weapons that can counter high initiative. And I would assume that because they are, they won't swing at initiative 1 because they're not wielding big power fists. They're wielding ridiculous combat weapons. So in many ways, actually, initiative stats would probably help them a little bit in that regard. Right. Well, it is 25 past 10, ladies and gentlemen. We have started Intranzia Fraye. We have finished Wazdaka Gutsmek, and we have finished Inquisitor Kroyle. So, not bad for a Wednesday evening. Everything that I needed to do. I will, of course, be spending more time on Intranzia Fraye tonight. So you've seen but a taste of what is yet to come from that video. Yes, we're going to wrap things up there. So we're going to head off. There will be a painting video tomorrow. It is either going to be Wazdaka Gutsmek or it's going to be Astra Militarum tanks. I will decide that tomorrow, based on the vibes, basically. It's going to be one of those two things. I don't know if I'm going to stream along with the Armageddon box opening thing that's on Friday. I might, just because. But we shall see. If that's something you guys want, let me know if you're in the Discord that you'd like to see that, and we'll try and get that done. But yeah, thanks for hanging out with me tonight. I will see you all very soon in the next one. Love you guys. Bye.